Well, joining me to talk about a special performance of the Alabama Symphony performing the Beethoven's Fifth Symphony are a couple of great people. We want to introduce you to them. That's music director Carlos Escaray. Good to see you again, Carlos.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Art.
Also, ASO chorus and multimedia artist Jean-Jacques Gaudel. Thank you both for being with us. But let's first talk about the special performance this weekend, Carlos. Tell us about that.
Well, so this weekend we're featuring one of the most iconic works. If anybody knows a little bit about classical music, they probably know this piece, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It's one of the most famous works just because it's one of these timeless masterpieces. You can hear it 100 times. The 101st time you hear it again, it just comes back to life, and it's just a very moving work, and it inspires so many people, and it keeps inspiring us all. On top of that, as is customary with the Alabama Symphony, we don't just play music for the sake of just playing it. We like to find the special angles and see what we can do to make the concert, that particular concert, special. So we are pairing this work with another composer, Cherubini, a much more unknown composer, but that was very well known to Beethoven. He very much admired this composer, Cherubini, who wrote a great choral masterpiece called the Cherubini Requiem. So we're featuring the Alabama Symphony Orchestra chorus. But we're taking even one more step further because we're pairing with Jean-Jacques Gaudel, an artist. He's from France, but he's local because he's been here over 3 or 4 decades, I believe. And he's a great video artist, and we're doing a whole video composition to go on a giant screen on top of the orchestra and the chorus, so you can see a sort of live painting, in flux as you are hearing the Requiem. So it's a technology meeting the traditional classical music.
Well, let's talk to the architect of that digital side of it. When you bring together digital and music, Jean-Jacques Gaudel, tell me how you do that.
Well, first, I like the piece. I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, I was asked about it, and I listened to the piece, and I actually didn't know the piece, and I loved it. And it's basically very tied to French history. The piece was commissioned by King Louis XVIII in the Restoration period after the Revolution and Napoleon.
The French Revolution.
Yes. And in memory of his brother Louis XVI, who was guillotined, under the Revolution. So it has a very important historical context, and it's very heavy in that sense. So it's a requiem, obviously. It's a mass for the dead, and but I didn't want it to be a sad. I mean, it's almost an hour-long piece, and I wanted it to be entertaining and so forth. So I did a lot of research on the period, and I decided it was probably not commissioned really as a mass for the dead, but more to celebrate the restoration of royalty in France. And the king came back, and he wanted to make it clear that royalty was back and that way of life was back.
I'm at the Alabama Symphony, and I'm watching this. What am I seeing as someone, how the music and the video works together? Tell me that.
It's very hard to explain, actually. I'm not as an artist, I've always let things happen. It's like in order to do video, you need images, basically. It's all images. So I have hundreds and hundreds of files full of images of everything I can think of, especially strange things. I like kind of the strange and the surreal things. And then I did more research and found images of the period, basically, and then things start putting together. I listen to the music, and I just try an image, say, and then it's kind of called for something else. Same way I used to compose a painting when I was a painter. I would start with one object, and then you kind of put another one, and suddenly you have a composition. It is almost instinctive.
Sounds like a lot going on. How did you work it all together, Carlos, music and video?
Well, basically, I'd like to add that, and this answers your question too, as the music was inspired Jean-Jacques, then I was witnessing the process as he was creating. I got a sneak peek of what he was doing, and the way I could describe it is the music is inspiring what you could describe as a moving collage of artifacts and textures, and it's like a moving painting, but it's very much related to the theme of, so to the theme of France post revolution, with the restoration. It's very inspired by the music. So you get a very immersive feeling. We're going to dim the lights in the concert hall. So you're basically just listening to the music while looking at this moving video painting, if you could call it, that has a narrative,
Yeah.
but it's very immersive. So you feel a sense of history. You get to see the castles from the time, the buildings, the artifacts, the documents and faces of the people of that time. And it's all moving along in a wonderful juxtaposition with the music. And I just think it's going to be very immersive and very intense, because the music itself is very intense.
Yeah, it sounds like it will be. So will people walk away there with this great feeling that they understand a little bit more about the French Revolution?
Hopefully, I try to subtitle, so to speak, not really subtitle, but I mean, they are titles that work in the composition, in a very nice lettering that kind of tell people where we are and who people are and so forth, so they know a little more, because I know Americans are not very familiar with the French Revolution. But it's mostly, I want it to be feeling. I mean, the music is first, this is just something that goes with the music and that kind of hopefully puts people in a mood and just adds to that wonderful composition of Cherubini.
Absolutely. Can we just say this as we wrap up? How does this season, Carlos, prepare to seasons past? What should people expect at the Alabama Symphony?
Well, they can expect is that we are holding, we are keeping our tradition, the great performance standard of the Alabama Symphony Orchestra. But if we move forward from here where we are now and to the next seasons, we're also including elements like such as technology and so forth. So you are looking at what an orchestra, a fine world-class symphony orchestra, can do in the 21st century.
All right. Music director Carlo Iscarre and ASO chorus and multimedia artist Jean-Jacques Gaudel. We thank you both for coming and being a part of this. Now back to you guys.